Hello, everybody. Do I have my volume right? Think so. Okay, I think we're all here. Let me know if you can see me. Yep. Okay. Let me start. The reason why I say in the description that we have to talk about the war is that to talk about anything else at the moment seems a little bit uh, inane, because this is a period we are living at a time when this is for sure the most important thing that is happening in the world. And I'll start with this, that I'm not going to discuss the ins and outs of what is happening. You have so many more channels that much better equipped than I am to talk about what has happened and what is happening and so on. I'm going to take it as usual in a more philosophical, or if you like, a more moral direction. I'll start with look, politics is from now on is no longer going to be found in parliaments or assemblies or congresses. And the only law reclaiming power now is going to be violence. And so after what happened last night, I don't know whether you were able to sleep. I wasn't, because I was trying to catch up in what was happening, we didn't know, and so on. I basically I didn't sleep. So, but what I'm hearing now is that as I got up in the middle of the day, is that in the United States, the members of the government, J.D. Vance and others, are doing the rounds of television channels and so on. Perhaps if you are in the United States, you can tell us a little bit more through the messages. They're going around doing quite a little bit of gloating. We've done this, and we destroyed Iran's nuclear capability and so on. Well, it seems that perhaps that is not exactly the case. That and I heard in one channel, I think a respected channel, I think it was the Duran or one of them, that in fact the uranium had been moved beforehand, and there was nothing there. Certainly the International Atomic Agency is not seeing any radiation at the moment of anything. It seems that as if it is quite possible that it wasn't there, that it had been removed beforehand. So what the United States attacked with those bombs were empty places. And of the 6 or 7 exits, they attacked 2. In any case, the Duran was asking where did they, well, of course, we don't know where they moved it to, if indeed they moved it. But there has been a statement by the government of Iran that it had been moved to a safe or something like that, some safe site. Anyway, what does that mean? So the Duran was saying, would it be possible that perhaps they moved it to Russia? Or even perhaps would it be more possible that it was removed to China? And he asks rhetorically whether all those airplanes that we saw coming in, that we all thought were bringing perhaps weapons and so on, that whatever they carried to Iran, that perhaps they took the uranium that Iranian uranium. In any case, it seems most probable that there was no uranium there. And I believe that Netanyahu has actually confirmed that, which is amazing because after he incited the United States to go in to destroy their nuclear capacity, now they are acknowledging that there was nothing there. In any case, there will be a little bit of gloating, as is always the case, for a few days, perhaps a few weeks. We have won, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the toughest of them all, kind of thing. But then when everything begins to settle, we have to look to what is happening. And it will, I think the 21st century appears now. The way I look at it is that it will no longer belong to the moderates or the centrists or the neutrals or those who seek to, well, let's negotiate, but more it will belong to those who will impose their will without asking your permission or your vote. So the population of the world, certainly the population of the West, will have to ask themselves how politics is to be managed, how it's going to be led and directed, how is the world going to be framed now. And I think that it is quite possible that it will require, you have to take sides now, and that it will require from the people sacrifice and courage and discipline and awareness. The sacrifice and courage and the awareness of the old Spartans or the old Crusaders. In the West, we are the true descendants of Homer, or we would like to be, and I think that is how we'll have to look at politics in the West. Our leaders, I personally believe, are morally dead or about to die. And I only see that the West can be reborn by recapturing that iron will that we lost to continue to live, to continue to keep our civilization. In any case, I'm going to start by saying, first of all, a word about Gaza, because everyone has forgotten about Gaza at the moment, and the people there are still being attacked, as we know. And the latest was that just, I think a couple of days ago or yesterday, the people were queuing up for some food. They put food there, the people rushed there, and then they're being attacked with bombs from tanks, actually. No one is talking about this, and I think this is essential about what is happening there. You remember King Solomon. I was thinking about that. Two women came to King Solomon, both saying that the baby belonged to them. And since King Solomon couldn't decide which one was the true mother, in order to test them, he said that the child should be split, divided into two, and give half to each mother. And then the true mother said, no, no, give him to her, give him to her. In other words, the mother protecting the baby, willing to part with the baby so that he would live. And so I was thinking about this because we have a situation in Israel at the moment and in Gaza where the Palestinians are there. They're not living. Well, they're living, they're not living. Sorry, is my Spanish mispronunciation. They're not leaving Palestine. They're not leaving Gaza. And it doesn't matter. They seem to know that they're going to die. They might die because bombs are they're being bombed to death, or they may die because of starvation. But I'm sure they know that they're going to die, and yet they are not living. And nevertheless, the Israelis are the ones leaving. They are rushing. We see reports that many of them are going to Cyprus, and apparently the government has banned all people leaving or something, but they are finding ways of doing so, hiring boats and paying a lot of money for them and so on to get to Cyprus. And it is the Israelis who are leaving while the Palestinians stay. That's a food for thought. Okay, next thought is that the President of the United States certainly rolled the dice here. He made a statement on Truth Social. You've all read it. I don't need to reread it. But he says that now, the Iranians should be ready for peace. Well, I don't understand his thinking. Ready for peace, but then he says he blesses Israel, he blesses America, and he says we love God, and we love God. It. I am getting a little bit tired of people hiding under the cloak of God. I find it in bad taste that whenever they do something, they then praise God as if God was going to bless what has happened. So what are we going to do now after the gloating will last for a few days, perhaps weeks? And then what do we have left after the gloating? What? It seems that with whatever happens, Israel will be destroyed. I believe that the Iranians continued to attack last night. Most of the major, they haven't attacked the Knesset yet. I don't know that they'll do it, obviously, but they seem to be destroying just about everything else. And it seems to me a fair assumption that Israel as a country will be destroyed. Now, what will happen then? Will they rebuild it? Will they all leave? What is going to happen there? Let me know what you think. Because all I want to do here, I have no answers as usual. I only have questions. If you can tell me what you're thinking about all this. I posted by the way, yes, I started I started the video. The title of the video is "Those Whom the Gods Seek to Destroy, they first turn insane." Have we reached that point? This comes from Esicles, which is, my goodness, this is about what, 4th, 5th century BC. Let me see what else I have here. Another place actually where Israelis are going to, I have been watching those channels in Argentina. A lot of them are in Argentina now. They have been going there for a while. There have been many reports that the Patagonia, right in the south, belongs to Argentina and Chile, being lots and lots of Israelis are going there. Apparently, President Milei was just with Netanyahu not long ago, and he agreed with him that he would send planes to, he says, repatriate them to Argentina, free of charge, of course. And he has promised Netanyahu that those who go there will be not only go free, obviously paid by the Argentinian people, but he will also give them special social pension, he called it. In other words, they will receive benefits, they will have free access to medicines, free access to medical services, free access to social services, and even a pension. This is being criticized in many channels in Argentina. I was listening to them because at the same time he's cutting pensions from old age pensioners in Argentina, reduced them considerably. He has reduced social services, he has reduced medical services and subsidies and so on. So while at the same time he is promising the Israelis all that he is actually reducing to Argentinians. So there is a lot of going on there. Okay, what else do I want to talk about? The president of the prime minister of Iran said in a statement to President Trump. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit, I didn't sleep and I'm a little bit slow. I won't go for long today because basically I have, as you can see, I have nothing to add, just a few thoughts, just to say hello to you. But I believe it was the president of Iran who said, okay, you started it, to President Trump, you started it, now we'll finish it. This is not a good thing, what is happening. Many commentators are saying, well, if they had agreed that they wouldn't build a nuclear weapon, now is obviously the time to do so. And perhaps many other countries, because no one is attacking North Korea, for example, probably because he has these nuclear weapons. So if you don't have them, you may be, as Colonel McGregor said, if you don't have them as a country, you may be visited by the United States in the middle of the night. But that's not the case with North Korea. I think that the problem here is that we all know that Iran was there on the radar of Israel, that they see it as the last country that will that is against what they want to do in the Middle East. So the reason for it all. President Trump was said also some comments about we are about to finish them off, language like that. What can we do about his language? It's like I don't know what to do about the man. I'm terribly confused about what he's doing. I mean, it's pretty clear, but the fact that they are not looking at the consequences, they don't seem to be looking long term about what is going to happen now that the United States is at war. Now, there are some people who say that perhaps it's just a PR stunt. Well, this is more than a PR stunt, but they claim that because they had to know, if indeed there is no uranium there, they had to know. The United States surely knew that there wasn't. How could they not have known that it had been moved to someplace else? So is this, some commentators are asking, is this a just a PR stunt to let Americans know that we are winning? What's the point at this stage of a PR stunt? I mean, the consequences for the United States are very, very grave. The Iranians are going to continue to be there. They have been there for thousands of years. I don't think the Iranians actually ever invaded any other country. I think if you go back in history, you will have to go back to, Emperor Cyrus or something, they're going to continue to be there, just like the Chinese are going to continue to be there, just like the Russians are going to continue to be there. They're ready to, be burned to cinders, and out of a few cinders, get themselves together again and start anew. These are people who are used to sacrifice. These are people who are used to whatever it takes to defend the motherland, as the Russians say. And I don't know whether the West is willing to do so. We have been on a moral slippery slope for 500 years now, and we will have to regain that capacity to sacrifice and to endure, and to think that there are more important things than pleasure and just us, each one of us, ourselves. This individualism that was inserted into the culture when the Catholic world was broken up, that sense of community first before the individual, that has gone. And so what we have now is the world is run. I'm sorry if don't want to upset anyone, but this is the way I see it. It's like the world is run now by atheists and heretics. The people in Israel, the Zionists, are for the most part atheists. And the people with some sort of influence on the president are the evangelicals. Did you see the post, the letter that the ambassador, the American ambassador Huckabee to Israel sent to President Trump? he was saying that you were spared by God. He said many things. Let's stop at that. You were spared or saved by God, meaning, the two assassination attempts. It might be true, it might not. It might have been a coincidence, too much of a coincidence. He could have been saved by providence. Why not? God can do that if he wishes to. This is where the Protestant and the Catholic, I'm sorry, I have to go back to that, but where we differ so profoundly. Because even if President Trump was saved by God, God that never, I don't think, ever saves you in order to just save yourself and then do what you want, and then you exercise power, and then you do this, you. It's never like that. It's always with the intent that I will save you in order for you to serve your people, in order for you to accomplish this for the others. It's never for your own aggrandizement. God never intervenes to make you feel, to increase your vanity. I can only understand it from a Catholic way. As you understand, we all have our religion and our philosophical traditions and our history, but that seems to me the way the American Protestants, perhaps not all of them, perhaps not the historical Protestants, but certainly these new sects that have come up. And it is just disconcerting. The other thing that he says, he also manages to rob his ego. It's very obvious there, isn't it? Many people have said, oh, look at him licking his boots, President Trump. No, I don't think he was doing that. Not really. He was caressing his ego. It was the same type of letter that the what was the name of the Attorney General from his last administration? Was it Marr? I forget now the name. That when he resigned, he wanted at the very end, he wanted to resign, and he actually resigned, and he went there to the Oval Office and said, "I want to resign." And President Trump said something like "good" or "good riddance" or something like that. Anyway, then he wrote the official letter of resignation, and in it, the whole letter was saying how great he was, how sad he was to be leaving this administration led by such a great man, something like that. I'm not quoting it literally, but he was rubbing his ego all the time. And I remember that the press was asking, well, if he's resigning, but he thinks so greatly and highly of him, why is he resigning? No, he's mocking him, really, in a way. So I think that letter from Huckabee was in the same vein, just you were saved by God to do great things, just like, and I say this not to lead you, but to encourage you, encourage you in your sacred mission. I mean, building him up with this thing. And then, of course, reference to Truman and what Truman had done in 1945, almost manipulating him to think that perhaps he will have to do the same thing. Just putting it there, sort of the psychological manipulation is so obvious. And poor Trump, he doesn't see it. I don't think he does. And the people who love him, his family, who should see through this. Obviously, don't tell him, or perhaps he doesn't want to hear. In any case, the terrible thing here is that he's bringing God save you, and this and that, for you to, and then the 1945 reference, as if that's it's almost blasphemy to suggest to bring God and 1945 together. God has chosen you to do this, God would never, I don't think, choose anyone to go around using the nuclear bomb to kill thousands upon thousands of innocent people, of civilians. Excuse me a second, because the light is playing up. Just a second, I'm coming right back. I hope this is better. So again, playing, hiding behind God, I find it appalling. I find it is a blasphemy. What else do I have for you? I am so tired. I am so worried. Let me, while I recover something else, I'll just go on for a few more minutes, but let me see what you tell me here. Like Nivanya, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here all the time. Thank you, Suzette Johnson. Thank you for these thoughts. Thank you for being here, my love. MACM, what do we think of the Lord's promise made to Hagar concerning Abraham's firstborn? Oh my goodness. I will have to go back and read it. I don't remember the names. I remember studying sacred history, of course, when I was a child. I don't remember to Hagar. I'll have to go back and look my little Bible here. If you're talking about the first covenant with, that God made to Abraham, yes, I have a video, which I think is my last video that I posted, that in the old law, in the Old Testament, even though this is my Bible, look at the state of it. It's just that there are several covenants in the Bible. One, of course, to Abram, and then Abraham, then to Moses, then to King David. There are several there. And I made the point in the last video that the difference with Christianity, these were covenants made to the Hebrews, to the Jewish people, but with Jesus Christ, that there is as he said, a new and last everlasting covenant. That would be the new covenant for Christians. Now, of course, if you are Jewish and you don't believe that Jesus was the Messiah, you retain those covenants, yes, and you are the chosen people. But if you are a Christian, then you have to accept that those covenants in the old law that Jesus never rejected. It's not that they were not true, it's not that they were not made. He never rejected them, he never said they were wrong, but they were to be passed to the rest of humankind, to the rest of humanity. In other words, to those who would follow him. That was those old covenants, real ones made in the old law, that was to be superseded by a new and everlasting covenant to those who would believe in him. If you're a Christian, you believe that. If you're Jewish, you obviously don't, because you don't, as I said, you don't accept that Jesus was the Messiah. If you're an atheist, you don't care. And if you're neither a Jew or a Christian or an atheist, you probably don't know what we're talking about. But that if you are a Christian, then you have to put that covenant, the new and everlasting one, yes, above the ones, not because the other ones were wrong, but because they were superseded. So in my last video, what I was arguing was that you cannot claim to be Christian if you always refer to the old covenant as the Jewish people being the chosen people, because that covenant with the chosen in the sense that we understand it, that yes, Jesus was of them, yeah, in that way chosen, but the word as it is normally used by American Protestants of the chosen and the Jewish people themselves, the chosen one, that was transferred, the chosen word, to be those who followed him. Okay, I don't know whether I have answered your question. There is so much to be said. That's my answer. Okay. What else? Trump is not of sound mind, or is it arrogance and ignorance? Well, some people have been talking about this. I don't want to be, a cheap sort of aggression to him. They begin to say, are we seeing the signs of something? I don't know. I don't think he's wise. How do you attain wisdom? It's not only out of reading books. It is about connecting that to life experience. I find that people who have suffered and have learned from that suffering better equipped, at any rate, to be wise than those who have never have to struggle to survive. And that is why I come from the peasantry. And I've said it so many times, I'm even boring myself sometimes when I say it, but forgive me. But, when I go back home to the old people there, my parents' family, my father's family, they're all peasants. And they can all read and write, but, just about. And but you find a tremendous amount of wisdom there. I can sit there and listen to them talk about life. And I've studied philosophy in Oxford and politics. And it all makes sense to me. And then what I have learned intellectually, I can digest it better because somehow I put it in context. I love listening to them talk about life. I don't know, President Trump. I don't think he has wisdom. I don't want to put him down or anything. One of my followers was very upset with me, and she said that she was going to unsubscribe and everything because of my stand on President Trump. And I was really sorry, because she always had something important things to say. I don't know where I went wrong. I don't think I have changed my mind. So I don't know whether she was always interpreting what I said in a different way from the way I was meaning to say it. I don't mean to attack him or to put him down. But you see, he is the leader of a country. He's a public figure. And a lot of people can die because of his decisions. And so he has to be wise. But if he's not, at least to be surrounded by someone respects the country enough to tell him, Mr. President, consider this and consider this, and lead him. Because he may be very good at other things, making deals, in the economy. I don't know, he might do very good things for his country. But he lacks the wisdom to know that the worst thing that you do when you are in power is to go around like a bully. It does not, well, in the short term, you look very big and strong. It never works. It never works. If only we knew a little bit about history or just common sense, you would know that that doesn't work. You may win the battle, you may put your enemy down, but remember that eventually when all the hatred and the resentment and the, he will be waiting round the corner. Anyway, okay, I'm ranting. Oh, Travis, hello. Only on now, Lali, I will watch back. I hope you're well. I haven't slept at all. I get worried about politics. And, well, this is not politics, this is war. And it's going to have terrible consequences from now on. Jean Myers. Okay. Suzette Johnson, I love the hymn. So holier, wiser may we grow. Yeah. I don't know the hymn. Imelda Tobin, very wealthy people don't live in the real world. Yeah. Is that they experience it in a different way. And when I touched on this on my last video too, and that is that in order to, if you are blessed by the gods, if you are in a position of power and wealth and you have everything that you ever wanted and so on, I would always suggest to them to keep your feet on the ground, always look back to where you come from. I was talking about identity, cultural identity, when you are talking about Ted Cruz, that I'm not asking him in any way to betray his country, the United States. But I make the point that he has never seemed to even gaze once in a while, once in a blue moon, to little Cuba over there where his ancestors come from, his father comes from. So he's first generation, he is first generation. As I said, not in order to put Cuba first, but Cuba is such a tiny, tiny little island with no resources of any kind. All they have is sugarcane. And since 1959, this, strangling little Cuba here with the foot of the United States on their throat, with all those terrible, terrible sanctions, which I consider are revenge more than anything else, because as I said in the video, it's not as if the Cubans are going to export communism to the United States and it will spread like wildfire or anything like that. Nor is it going to become China, Why would not the United States allow little Cuba there to just, be able to breathe a little bit economically, to allow them to be a little bit prosperous? And it's just sheer revenge. How dare you challenge, back in 1959, our power? Cuba had become the brothel of the United States at the time. And the dictator Batista was there doing the United States bidding. And so a man who was Fidel Castro, who later became a communist, but I explain in the video how at first he wasn't. At first he was just trying to, do a coup against this military dictator. But of course, as things developed with the sanctions and everything else, the only people who were helping him were the Soviet Union. And it was only the Soviet Union who were buying all the sugar that Cuba produced. No one else would buy it because of the sanctions. So it was the only way to survive at the time. Okay, so I'm not saying that Fidel Castro was good, and they always dictators, they always stay too long, They get also that power thing, and then there you are. But in any case, the people of Cuba have never been allowed to breathe, And my point was simply that since his Ted Cruz's father is Cuban, came from Cuba, so he is first generation. He's not even second or third when you have probably forgotten about the old country, but still very much alive, the connection. That he wouldn't from time to time ask himself, is there something I can do? Just to let them breathe a little bit. Because after all, it is the home of your ancestors. And I was just making the point that when you disconnect yourself emotionally from where you come from, you lose your soul. And it's not only, where you come from in different countries. I made the point that it is also, for example, if you want to talk about socially or economically, you are working class, you made good, you are a millionaire now, good luck to you. I certainly don't want to take it away from you. But if you want to keep sane, always remember where you come from. Remember the suffering. And that keeps your soul there and you don't become insane. I could say the same about Black Americans, for example. So many of them, thank God, doing well, becoming famous, rich, everything else. Remember the suffering of your predecessors. Remember that. Okay? Because if you don't, you will lose your soul. That's how I feel. It keeps you grounded. Just even if you don't even if you don't experience the suffering, which you obviously are not, physical suffering or economic suffering, you don't have to worry about anything in terms of money. But try to remember where you come from, or you lose your soul. And this is just about in every aspect. And so what happens is that when you forget, you disconnect emotionally from suffering, you begin to have these airs of you can do, you're invulnerable, you can do everything you want. And as I say in the video, when that happens, the gods will turn you insane. Those whom the gods seek to destroy, vanity and all that, they will first turn insane. Yeah. Oh no, they don't, Imelda. They don't live in the real world, and the problem is not that they are powerful and wealthy. It's just that they have disconnected emotionally with humanity, with what it is to be human. So there they are, half insane. MACM, the Reformation and Enlightenment and subsequent age of secularism, republicanism, liberalism, a fulfillment of Psalm 2. Oh, well, you see, the way, you know how I'm going to go to Psalm 2, as a matter of fact. Okay, but listen, while I find Psalm 2, let me say this that I wanted to say for a long time. The Psalm 2. Psalm 2. Why have the Gentiles raged and the people devised vain things? The kings of the earth stood up, and the princes met together against the Lord and against his Christ. Let us break their bonds asunder, and let us cast away their yoke from us. He that dwelleth in heaven shall laugh at them, and the Lord shall deride them. Then shall he speak to them in his anger, and trouble them in his rage. But I am appointed king by him over Sion, his holy mountain, preaching his commandment. The Lord hath said to me, Thou art my son, this day have I begotten thee. Oh, yes, okay. Ask of me, and I will give thee the Gentiles for thy inheritance, and the utmost parts of the earth for thy possession. Thou shalt rule them with a rod of iron, and shalt break them in pieces like a potter's vessel. And now, O ye kings, understand, receive instruction, you that judge the earth. Serve ye the Lord with fear, and rejoice unto him with trembling. Embrace discipline, lest at any time the Lord be angry, perish from the just way, when his wrath shall be kindled in a short time. Blessed are all that they trust in him. Okay, I have to go back because you see, as a Catholic, let me tell you, sometimes we are accused of having never read the Bible, not knowing the Bible, this and as a cradle Catholic, okay, I have to tell you from a cradle Catholic nation, Spain. It is not that. It is simply that we are taught the Christian faith in a different way. As a child, I learned what we call sacred history, okay, which is the Old Testament. During the Mass, we hear, and obviously the New Testament, and during the Mass, we hear the New Testament and in the Gospel and so on. That's not the point. The point is that we are taught in terms of piety rather than in an intellectual way to understand Christianity. In other words, I have said this many times, the parable of the example of the that Jesus makes of the publican, the tax collector, and the Pharisee. You remember the Pharisee saying, I thank you, God, because I'm so great, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And the publican who says, forgive my sins. And there he is on his knees, practically repenting. Okay. Now, the publican doesn't know anything. He doesn't know any theology. He doesn't know any history. He probably has never read the Torah. And okay, he doesn't know anything. All he knows is that God is there, he is here, he has sinned, he has done wrong things, and he's asking for forgiveness. And if you think about it, that's quite a lot of theology to have. Because you learned the doctrine, as it were, by means of the heart. Yeah. Not by means of the mind. In other words, you read the Bible, you understand it. What does this mean? You memorize the verses. But that is not religion, that is theology. You can read them and understand them and so on, but there has to be a coming in of the heart in order to accept them. Yeah. Otherwise, you can be a great theologian, but not believe a word that you're saying. Or if it doesn't affect however much you read it and however, if it doesn't affect your conduct, if it doesn't change your heart, then it is not acting as a religion is supposed to be, which is to change you from inside, to help you with your conduct, about yourself and other human beings. If it doesn't do that, then it's theology. It's just theology, it's not religion. All right. So there are many ways to, and as Cardinal Newman told us, that he was la creme de la creme of English letters, of Anglicanism, before he converted. And he does tell us in many ways that, he knew everything. He had to go around the world and around theology and around all these understandings and history and crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's about the Catholic, all this. And at the end, you have to come to your knees where that publican is and just say, "Forgive me, I repent." You see, so some people come through the Bible and through history and through understanding and through studying and through intellectual exercise to conversion of the heart to Christianity and getting down on your knees before God in humility and asking for repentance. In Catholic countries, they teach us from the very beginning that look what a God, how much you have seen, as for repent, all that. They teach us Christianity through the heart. Hopefully, then what we all should do is to go and also, study the Bible as Protestants do. Okay, but it doesn't mean that when I this is too complicated. When I am told, because that is how I learned, I experienced my religion. Whenever I am told or I hear, for example, a Protestant who says verse, Saint Matthew 2, 3, 5, 74, I don't know, okay, I don't know what he's talking about. I don't know where the parable of the publican is. I don't know whether it's Mark, John, Luke. I don't know where it is. I don't know which verse. I don't care, basically, where it is and which verse it is and which was the evangelist who wrote that. It's there in the gospel, right? It's like if I enjoy Dostoevsky, I just know what the story is and what he is trying to tell me. I don't need to know which chapter, in which page, in which paragraph. There's nothing wrong with that. Indeed, if I love him so much that I want to become a scholar, then it would be absolutely essential that I know that. And it adds to my knowledge. It doesn't retract from it. It adds to it, knowing where it is. But knowing where it is, if it doesn't affect your heart, then is an intellectual exercise. So some people come to being down on your knees through learning the Bible, and then eventually come to the changing of the heart. And some of us are taught the religion by get down on your knees and there is God and so on. Okay, that is that is why I don't know what Psalm 2 said. But whenever I am, someone tells me this or that, I said, okay, so what does it say? And they tell me, and I say, yeah, because, so I knew it. I just didn't know where it was exactly. I don't know whether that answers any questions. Gentiles, nations. Yes, Imelda, caught, not taught. Oh, did I read it wrongly? Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know which. Okay, caught, not taught. I don't know exactly what you're referring to there. Okay, I think I'm going to leave it here. I have more questions than answers, as you can see, but I'm going to prepare my first, just let me tell you, okay, I'm going to start a members only thing, and that is I was thinking especially young people. I'm going to teach what I have always taught, and that is government and politics and sociology and perhaps a little bit of literature and I don't know what else. But this will be, I'm directing it towards perhaps your sons and daughters or grandchildren who might want to study these subjects in the future, or if they are already study them, to help them as a revision or something like that. Okay. I am preparing it. I have been working hard preparing these lessons. I have been doing it for a long, long time, 25 years, but I just want to put in my thoughts together because it's going to be different to teach in a classroom and to teach online with no students present with, I teach always standing up. I teach with my body, as it were, but this is going to be very different. And also for some old timers or some of you who might want to have a look at, how the background of your political ideas, the background of so many things that you hear. If you have never studied these disciplines formally, then you might be interested in the background, okay, of how we come to speak of liberalism or nationalism, or, different types, that kind of thing. And so I'm going to do these lessons for members only. I'm going to, from now, I'm going to record the first lesson, which will be available on Monday at 8 o'clock London time. Okay. So yeah, I hope that you will be interested enough. It will be a 1-hour lesson, and I will start uploading these videos. I hope you become a member, and that's it. Okay, that's it for today. I thank you very much for being here and taking the time. I really. Oh, okay, Imelda. Yeah, Imelda. I mean, the Catholic faith was caught by example more than it was taught. Imelda, caught by example. Oh, okay. You mean it was learned by example? Yes, that we learned it by, okay, yeah. More than it was taught intellectually, you mean? Yeah, I agree with that, if that is what you mean. Thank you. Okay, Lagnibanya, okay, where does that name come from? Because you're such a faithful follower, and you always have nice things to say, which is very, very nice actually, because to receive a pat in the back every now and then, because I do, a lot of us actually put quite a little bit of work preparing and thinking, it may not appear so, but we do, because at least, at the very least, you have to recollect your thoughts. What am I, first, what am I going to say? How am I going to say this, that? Okay, it takes quite a while. And, to from time to time to have people like Lak am I pronouncing it right? Lakni Vaya Bahia. Okay. You'll have to you'll have to tell me how to pronounce it, write it as it is pronounced. And where is that from? Where is that from? Um, okay. Yes. Gracias, Lali. Thank you. Gracias, gracias. Okay, my darlings. Okay, I'll love you and leave you. And thank you for listening again. Thank you. Bye bye.